Good morning, Kristen. How are ya? Good morning, Faye Davis. Woo woo. Good morning, Sharon Landry. Hey, John. How are you this morning? Hope you are well. Good morning, Priscilla. Shelby, how are you? Hope you're holding up. Good morning, Donna. Good morning, Irene. Great to see you. Good morning, Gail. Hi, Audrey. Hello. I hope you're doing well. Um, Good morning. Excellent. I'm glad you're healing. Not as much pain. That's great, Vicky. Good morning. Happy full moon. I know it's all gray up in here. Yep. So, yes, the full moon is real. Good morning, Gail. How are you? Good to see everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. For another 11:11. Here we are. It is so good to see everybody begin to gather and coming in. Glad you are here. It is a wondrous and good day. It is a wondrous and good day. We are here with one another. That I'm looking on. We've got 12 and some more people coming in. So I want to. Hey, good morning, Cindy. I hope you and your clan are well. That day 50. I think we're close to day 50. I haven't added them up, but we're very close. I think that sounds right to me. We're right around day 50. Good morning. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Sue. Hello, everyone. Hello, friends. Yes, it is my hope that out of this whole thing, if there is nothing else that comes out of it, this gathering becomes friends. Like that is one of my prayers and hopes for all of this, that we might have fellow pilgrims on the way to journey with. And you might know that, and you might be able to trust that and know that. That is my one of my hopes for all of you this morning. That's right. You are right, Donna. That's one of the things I've been pulling in flowers and all these things as we've been going along. But that's one of the reasons is that the natural world reminds us that the world is in fact unchanging. 50 days and all I did was clean out my Christmas decorations. Yes, we are in. It's so true. We are in an unknown time, in a time without time. In some ways, the great Walter Brueggemann calls this Sabbath time, or covenant time. That it's time outside of the normal rhythms of life. When we get unplugged from the things that we normally rely on. And and it's why I've been kind of leaning on the natural world around us so much, not just because it's springtime and it's so glorious that, it's the best sense of the resurrection that we find, but also that we are in this place where there are these larger cycles at work. Yes, Shelby, that's right. That we are a part of this thing, and that the world may change in these cycles. We know it does. There will be snow, there will be rain, there will be sunshine, there will be beach days, all of those things, and yet God's love for us and the enduring nature of the world does not change. And that is what we pin ourselves to when these times become disjointed, when we end up in operating out of a different time than we necessarily come to. Wow, I didn't even start with that. That you get that one for free. How's that? We're 53 days. Good Lord. Good morning, Cecile. How are you this morning? So glad you're here. So I want to talk about this Psalm 31. Psalm 31 is a fairly famous psalm. You'll recognize some of the pieces of it likely through this. But I want to talk about it because it has this one image in it, which is a thread of action that we can take. I've become to believe that the zombie apocalypse and we are becoming the zombies. You know, I'm not saying you're wrong. And that's part of what we're talking about this morning is how do we not be zombies? How do we not, if you think about all the zombie movies that, there's always this virus, like in Walking Dead, it was this virus that people got. Like if you remember The Walking Dead, if you're a Walking Dead fan, I'm not, but I do remember it, that there are these points in which people become because of the contagion that they've caught. The early zombie movies were this search for brains, this search for something new, like that people would that could consume, and so there's something there, and that's what this psalm talks about. So hear it now. Is being in the face of something that wants to consume you. And so hear these words. In you, O Lord, I seek refuge. Do not let me ever be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me. Incline your ear toward me. Rescue me speedily. Be a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me. You are indeed my rock and my fortress. For your name's sake, lead me and guide me. Take me out of the net that is hidden for me, for you are my refuge, and into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God. That fifth verse, and he'll repeat it again later in the psalm. Into your hand I commit my spirit. Hey, good morning, Michelle. Good morning, good morning. So glad you're here. Into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God. This act of committing our spirit, this is a thing we can do. Is this committing our spirit to God? Now, what does that mean? No, it doesn't just mean that we're out there doing good things for Jesus. That's not really it. It is really about this way of it was really where we started this conversation. And Donna, about the idea of becoming zombies, or this idea of having 50 days and all we did was put away our Christmas decorations. That this notion that when we are surrounded by all of these things that we think we have no agency over, and we kind of talked about some of that yesterday, but is this sense of, and that there's this whole prayer that he starts in those first four verses of what he's calling God upon, to be a rock, to incline his ear, to inviting God close, inviting God to be something he can rely on, and then making the act of committing. Into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God. Into your hand I commit my spirit. Okay, let's talk about hands for a second. Hands are things that we do things with, right? We don't pick up the newspaper with our nose or our teeth unless we don't have hands. Like that our hands are what are the operation of the world. And so we commit ourselves to what the operation of the world that's going on. We commit ourselves to what's happening in this moment, right here and right now. And we look for the ear inclined toward us. We look for the rock of refuge and the fortress, that we understand that the divine operation is at work. That's why I keep these flowers up here all the time. They are a constant reminder that the divine operation, God's world, God is at work in this world. That's not just a natural world bringing these things about. The natural world doesn't give two whits about beauty. We do. We recognize the beautiful in that natural world. We recognize, and that beauty, that sense of what moves us and encourages us, that comes from somewhere. That's not baked into the cake of a bunch of atoms and protons arranging themselves and blossoms that open. That all of this order that we see in the natural world, all of this is right now and at work and available, and it's chaotic as the world as we look at it right now. That same divine operation is at work with you this second. That's the promise of this invitation that we can make to God to say, into your hand I commit my spirit. And if you doubt that, if you doubt that, there's a big thing about, we make a big deal about last words, don't we? We make that last words are a big deal to us. We love the notion of all the different last words that people have said over the years, and there's a great many of them. My favorite story of last words was of a theology professor, and he was a robust guy. He was incredible, like he was just filled with life, and he died actually young. Is Professor Turley? He died fairly young, and he died very quickly. And he'd spent a lot of his life studying and imagining and wanting to know about the next life, about what the spirit of the world might look like in the next life. And he was in one room, and his wife was in the other room, and she heard him hit the floor. And she came in, and he was there kind of gazing off and she scooped him up and held him, and his last words, he said, he looked up and he said, "Now I understand." And he passed. You see, our last words sometimes have a foretaste for us of the things that are ahead. You ever wonder what Jesus' last words were? Jesus' last words were these. "And then Jesus, crying with a loud voice, said, 'Father, into your hands I commend my spirit.' Having said this, he breathed his last." Those words from 31st Psalm, those are the words that Jesus takes to the bank and goes into the tomb to know the resurrection. If we want to go into the tomb, if we want to know the resurrection, if we want to dare to live boldly in this world, understand this is not an act of submission. This is an act of boldness, that we commit our spirit to God, and in the words of Augustine, love God and do what we will. Love God and do what you will. Like that we commend our spirit in the midst of this moment, and know that death may come, something may come, anything may come, but in the commending of our spirit, we find the rock, we find the fortress, we find God's ear inclined to us to be able to hear that which we call for and that which we desire. You see, the last words of Jesus are really the invitation to our first words, to being what it is, one of these people who walk in the way of this Jesus guy. You see, that's our invitation today. And all of this time outside of time, and all of this 50 days to put away our Christmas stuff, and all of this turning into zombie sense, we can start by commending our spirit to God. And when we do that, stuff starts to move. Stuff starts to move. It may look like a tomb moment, but it's a getting ready for a resurrection moment. It may look like a defeat moment, but it is getting ready for a victory moment. That's what happens in the psalm. The psalm points us towards this, not to the loss, not to the empty, but it calls us to the victory. Friends, God's love for you is unchanging, unshakable, nowhere near as small or as weak or as limited as you might think. We this day have the chance to simply commend our spirit. And I want to invite you to do it. To spend some time today. Go for a walk, get out, put some sunshine on your face if you can find some, and commend your spirit. Commend your spirit. Don't be a zombie. Don't be lost in this time outside of time. But let that unfold and see what happens. See what happens. See what visions that may come in the resurrection and the rolling away of the stone, that is to come from those words. That when Jesus, crying with a loud voice, said, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." And having said this, he breathed his last. All right, friends, that's my hope for you today and my invitation. On Saturday, we are aware that it is Mother's Day this weekend, and it is our tradition that our our Sunday school offers flowers to all of the women of the church that have been engaged in the act of mothering, and so in that tradition, on Saturday at 11 o'clock, there's actually a Facebook event that's been posted about it. They will have some marigolds potted up for you that you might come by and get a blessing from the church. They'll be right on Rock Street. You don't have to get out of your car. You don't have to do any of that. They'll have them all kind of ready and sealed up for you, and as a way to greet you and to offer you a blessing of not only this Mother's Day, but a blessing of our church. So if you can come by at 11 o'clock on Saturday, please do. We will be here tomorrow with another 11:11 and get ready for worship on Sunday. Grace and peace, everybody, and really spend some time today commending your spirit to the one who made you, and see what happens.